One experiment in Australia showed that people rated the same wine higher when they thought it was $53 rather than $16 or $6. But get this, the experimenters had actually made that wine objectively worse by adding tartaric acid. It didn't matter, the price tag overwhelmed their taste buds. In another study, scientists scanned the brains of people tasting wines that they thought were either $10 or $90. In reality, it was the same wine. But when they thought it was expensive, their brains showed more activity in a region associated with pleasant tastes and smells. So expensive wines may actually taste.
Answer: Option B, sweeter.
Do you keep strong emotions bottled up inside? Perhaps you always tell the people around you that you're all right, and that they shouldn't worry about you, even though you're not in the best shape. While you may appear calm on the outside, hiding your negative emotions can have a negative impact. According to clinical psychologist Victoria Tarrant, suppressing your emotions is said to affect blood pressure, memory, and self-esteem. It can also aggravate depression and anxiety in the long term. So instead of repression how you feel, acknowledge your emotion in a safe environment. Identifying your emotion can be
Answer: Option A, beneficial.
Do you need rigid systems in place all the time? People who compulsively control everything usually do so to protect themselves and others from making mistakes or getting hurt. While having systems in place isn't a bad thing, being too rigid can also be problematic. According to NY-based mental health counselor Diane Webb, a person with over-controlling tendencies can get triggered by anxiety if even just one thing isn't in place. Instead, try to ground yourself and focus on the things that you can.
Answer: Option B, control.
A supply curve shows how much of a good suppliers are willing and able to supply at different prices. As with the demand curve, there's a supply curve for every good and service. And again, the ideas are the same, so let's look at the supply curve for oil. We see an intuitive relationship between price and the quantity supplied. As the price goes up, the quantity of oil that companies are willing to supply increases. In this example, in a low price, $5 per barrel, let's say 10 million barrels of oil are supplied per day. At $20 per barrel, 25 million barrels are supplied, and at $55 per barrel, 50 million barrels are supplied. So in general, a higher price means
Answer: Option B, a greater quantity supplied. Why is lying to ourselves a problem? We need to tell ourselves the truth when we can, for the simple reason that we often pay a very high price for the short-term calm of our lives. We miss key opportunities for growth and learning. We're not very nice to be around. We develop harmful systems. And not least, the truth will be out. When we don't let it emerge, it has a tendency to reveal itself through involuntary, often physical symptoms. We become insomniac or impotent. An eyelid starts twitching. We acquire a stutter, and scream in our sleep and lose energy. We fall into depression. We owe it to ourselves to dare to start to confront. Answer: Option A. Our real nature.
So for me, the act of bullet journaling is an act of thinking. It's an act of unplugging and actually processing the information. And in my community, I've found that that's also provided significant value to people who get caught up in the rush of everyday life. It's a moment that you can take back. It's a moment where you can really have the luxury of sitting down and starting to digest the things that you otherwise can easily be overwhelmed by. I think one thing that we often kind of forget is just because something is convenient does not make it efficient. So a lot of times data entry, if you type for example, happens a lot faster, but in that process, a lot gets lost because you're just kind of parroting the source, and I think that it's really important to actually hear what's being said than just simply kind of spitting it back out onto paper. So when you're writing, a lot of the time what you want to do is reduce the amount of information that you're capturing only down to. Answer: Option B. What truly matters.
It's amazing. Just think about this the next time you're talking to somebody. How long do you talk to somebody you've just met before you really notice what color their eyes are? What shape is their eyebrow? What color clothing are they wearing? If it's a woman or a man, are they wearing jewelry? What is it? Where did it come from? How are they sitting? What clue am I getting from them? We don't notice one another nearly as much as we think we do. And I found it has built up my empathy. At least I think it has. But I find myself much more comfortable with other people. This is an amazing thing. I find other people less annoying. Isn't that funny? Because I get a little more empathy about what they're going through, or what I think they're going through, or what I can hear from things they say. And instead of being annoyed by them, I think I know where this is coming from, and it explains it. And just getting the explanation of what might otherwise be annoying behavior or an annoying thing they're saying, the annoyance kind of evaporates. It's not that empathy is making me a better person. It just gives me a little more patience. I find, and I think other people who have studied empathy have found, that there's more patience associated with. Answer: Option A. Empathy.